Hi there, this is Karen with Creative U Art Lesson Crates, and I want to welcome you to today's lesson of Groot. Groot is a character from the Guardians of the Galaxy franchise. He's a lovable, large character who only speaks 3 words: I am Groot. In the sequel that was recently released, we see a more childlike version of Groot. He is by far one of my favorite characters of the series, and he is just a really adorable creature to create. So we're going to make our own dancing Groot. What we have here is our paper. It is watercolor paper. It is very thick. I tore it out of the book, and I'm going to use a pencil to sketch, permanent marker to outline, and then you can fill in with any kind of paint you choose. I'm going to use watercolor paint. You can do acrylic paint. It is up to you. This is your picture. Now, the difference between acrylic paints and watercolor paints, just so you know. Oh, and there you go. Acrylic paint and watercolor paints are very similar. The difference is these are already wet and these are dry. When they're in their wells, they're dry. You have to add water to activate the color. These, they're already wet and they just dry on your paper. So it's 2 different styles. The other difference between the 2 is these are kind of transparent, and in order to have a nice, deep, rich color, you have to layer it. So if you want a bright red, you might have to do 3 or 4 coats of bright red here, whereas here you might need only 1 coat. The other difference is these stain your clothes. These may or may not stain your clothes depending on the brand that you buy. I try to buy the kind that do not stain your clothes. These don't. So if these came in your pack, these don't stain. These do. All right, so we're going to get started drawing our Groot, and then I'll go over the whole painting aspects of it after. One thing I want to remind you is that it's very important to sketch, not draw. So you don't want these dark lines, because what that's going to do is be really difficult for you to erase if you mess up. We want to start off spacing them out. I'm going to sit down to do this part. I want to make sure that I have enough room for my little Groot right here. And if you notice by our picture, he's taller than the base that he's in. So if we figured half and half, that's not right, because he needs to be taller than this one. So I would go down to about 1/3 of the paper. I'm going to do a line and then 2 angled lines in, and then a base. Now, because this is angled down, I can angle up, and that gives the illusion that there's like dirt on the inside and that there's an outer wall that circles around him. The next thing I want to do is draw a very light stick in the direction that he's going to be leaning. Another one that crosses, and that's going to be his arms, and then one that comes up, which will be the rest of his arm. Okay, so now we want to do a very soft circle on both ends. That's going to be his little hands. And now it's time to just fill him in. I want to start off filling him in with the basic shape of his face, which is a U. He's got a lot of twigs and stuff, which are represented with just a zigzaggy line. And every now and then you'll throw in a little leaf or 2, because he's a baby. He's just growing up again. He's been shrunk down to a stick again, and now he's growing. His eyes are happy eyes. So you're going to do frowns for happy eyes. I know that sounds weird, but when you smile, you squint your eyes. Your cheeks push them up. Therefore, you have happy frowns, I guess you could say. He does not have a nose, but he does have the bridge where it kind of bumps out to a nose, but it's not actually a nose. And then he has a big, adorable smile. If you want to add the actual eye, you can. They're just U's, and they'll be filled in black. Now we're going to thicken up our main line. And start swirling in some texture lines. It's kind of like fish hooks going down into your dirt. Now we're going to just rough up this side. You can add a few little center lines because he is nature. Nature is not perfect. So let me darken his little face again. And now we're going to work on his arms. Wobbly lines, wobbly lines. Scuff them up. Wobbly. Wobbly, scuff it up. And his little hands are just wobbly line. Bring it back. He doesn't have the full amount of fingers or anything like that. He's just got little branches that might even have little leaves. Do it on the other side. And of course, scuff it up so it looks like it's a branch. Scuff up the face, but don't lose the actual shape. You can add a few little flowering leaves there as well. Now the next thing you can do is outline with a permanent marker. This is if you choose to. The other thing you want to do, which I did not do, is a table of some sort for him to sit on. He needs to be on something. So if you outline him, you can still do the scuffy lines with a Sharpie. I know it's a solid permanent line, but you can still draw them and they still look scuffy. All right. So I'm going to pause the video here and finish outlining him, and then we'll finish with painting him. And there you have an absolutely adorable little Groot. Once again, you can choose to fill him in any form of art medium you choose. You can use the ones that come in your box, or you can use some that you might have already. If you use acrylic, you would just paint it straight in. And maybe add some other colors to add some dimension. If you choose to watercolor, just remember, wet your color first, then paint it. So you see by watercoloring, you can just go straight onto it with a wet paint. Now I'm going over my acrylic just to blend it in. Alright, you guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed your cute assignment with Groot. I look forward to working with you again soon. Take care.